Are you in this moment? And a listener can tell the difference between these two things. So trying to pull all of these things together is going to be a trick. It is, again, well, it's not a trick, it's a skill. Remember, public speaking is a skill. And when I say it's a trick, I mean it's managing these skills and pulling them all together. Anything that you do is a series of skills. I mean, when you learn how to cook, you have to learn how to break the eggs, you have to learn how to sift the flour, have to learn how to turn on the stove. And I don't cook, so that's as far as I'm going to go with that. If you learn how to play a musical instrument, I mean, you don't just pick up a guitar and play a concerto. I mean, you have to learn how to hold the guitar and make the chords and pick the strings and do all of these things. I mean, everything is a series of skills that you build on to create the final product. And that's the same with these speeches. So all of these component parts. So getting your head in it, putting all the intellectual information together, putting your heart into it is very important. And those are the big challenges. But the third component is the one that people forget, and it is absolutely, again, the easiest, the one that you have the most control over, and that's putting your body into the whole mix. Because the body is your delivery system. This is how the words get out of your mouth and into your audience's ears. That your body is as much part of this process as everything else that we've talked about. And it's the easiest thing for you to control. So one of the things that you have to think about first is that you have to take care of your body. You have to have, as I said in those speech tips that I gave you, you have to have adequate rest. You have to have adequate food in your system. You have to be hydrated, hydrated, hydrated. That's one of the simplest things that you can do, because the worst thing that can possibly happen is for you to get up and open your mouth and have your tongue stuck to the top of your mouth because you're nervous, and now you've dehydrated and you have dry mouth. And once you get dry mouth up the podium, it's going to take a very long time and a very lot of water to rehydrate you. So the whole trick is to hydrate all day. And again, those are things that you can control. I mean, the rest, I know. You're students and you're under you don't have enough sleep, and you're running around frantic, but trying at least to take 5 minutes before you come to class to just clear your mind and try and get yourself in a position where your body isn't racing. I mean, the worst possible thing that you can do for yourself is to be late for class, or have forgotten something, creating this anxiety in your body, because the body just reacts. And what ends up happening with your body when it gets stressed is everything goes up. So when you are nervous, your shoulders go up, your throat tightens, your face gets stiff, and then what happens is your entire delivery pushes up into your neck. And then you start talking like this because you're not getting any air into your words, and you're not getting any energy behind them, because everything is lodged in all of this muscle tension. So one of the things that you need to do is to learn to push everything down. You have to be aware of your body. What's it doing? Where is your tension? The tension, again, everything's going to go up. So push those shoulders back down. Open up the neck. Keep the face open. You want to be able to do exercises to make the muscles in your face ready, because probably you will not have been doing a lot of speaking during the course of the day. You're sitting in classes taking notes, so these muscles get tight and tired. It's just like any other muscle in your body. I mean, you go out and run a marathon without stretching or warming up, you're going to pull something. And your vocal cords, those are muscles too. The muscles in your face, and we'll have some people who just don't really open their mouths when they're talking, so then it makes it very difficult for people to hear what they're saying, because we need to also see the whole face be engaged in the process. So one of the critical things that you can take control of is learning, and this is all based on one thing. And this is when I have somebody, a colleague, come to me and say, I have to give a speech tomorrow. Well, I don't know what to do. And the big cure-all for any of this is to learn how to breathe. Sounds simple, right? We all breathe, right? We'd keel over if we weren't breathing. But you have to understand that breathing for speech is different than breathing for public speaking or performance. And if you're an athlete, or if you're a musician, a singer, you will know this. You know that breathing for, just for life. You're doing it very shallowly. We don't need a lot of air when we're at rest. We don't need a lot of oxygen at rest. So it's all just happening up here in the throat and the neck. But when you engage, when you're going to, do a sport, when you're going to, walk far, when you're going to open your mouth to speak, you need to push that breathing down into your diaphragm. And your diaphragm is a little piece of membrane at the bottom of the rib cage, and it's a little elasticy thing. And what it does is it opens up your ribs and pushes them closed, and it takes the breath from the your entire torso, your entire upper torso, and then it pushes it up through the neck like a bellows. Have you ever seen bellows, that you fan a fireplace with? So what you're doing is you're filling your body with air, filling that cavity with air, and then you're pushing it up. But if you're doing that just up in your neck, and you can see, I mean, it's like I'm just talking out of my neck now. And generally when we talk to our friends and we're sitting in a coffee shop, we're talking out of our necks. But you even see the quality of my voice changes when I talk in my neck. But when I pull that voice down into my torso, using my sternum, using that good, deep diaphragm breathing, then you push the voice down and you get more power, because some of you are going to be naturally soft spoken. So you're going to have this issue where it's going to be hard to hear you. And what you don't want to think about having to do is increasing your volume. Because again, if we're working just from our necks and then we're working on increasing volume, then what ends up happening is that we get strident and unpleasant to listen to, and you're not going to get any more attention from your audience if they can't hear you, or if they hear you like this. So what you do is learn to bring that breath down into the body cavity and speak from the diaphragm using that breathing and filling. So breathing through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, filling, and you can try this. Try it because you're in the privacy of wherever you're listening to this, filling your body cavity and pushing it out. The example they use is smelling a flower, blowing out a birthday candle. But the difference between that and just doing your breathing for life that's just happening up in your neck. But if you do that and you bring your voice down, then you can start increasing that volume without being strident. And what I always like to stress is that you're not trying to increase the volume, you're trying to increase the power so that you can be soft and you can still be strong. You don't have to be loud for everybody to hear what you're saying. So using that breathing, and I'm sending some handouts about breathing techniques, but what you have to understand is that breath, it comes all the way down, fills the lungs, and then you push it out slowly, and it comes up over the vocal cords, and it powers the voice. It also moves the oxygen through the blood to get it to the brain so that you don't brown out. And it's all based in your breathing exercises. And so we're going to talk a lot about breathing over the course of the semester. And one of the things that you can do on your outline, because the outlines are just between me and you can write in between these points in your speech, breathe here. Put it right there. Remind yourself to breathe, because again, when you get up to the podium and you're a little bit, maybe a little nervous, or you've got a lot of energy or adrenaline, the breathing is something that you have to build in. So reminding yourself to breathe, having that reminder there is absolutely fine. But you'll hear that from me a lot over the course of the semester, especially in these early speeches. I'll say, that was a great speech, but I don't think you breathed since you left your dorm this afternoon. Because then what ends up happening is we have this one long sentence where, that you're not getting the good breathing so that it gives good cadence. It will slow down your pacing. So you just want to make sure that you understand that breath powers the voice. It gives power to the words. It modulates your speech. It gives your voice a much rounder quality. You can hear the difference, but so again, now I'm back up in my throat. And this is how I would be talking if we were sitting at a coffee shop someplace and we were just having a conversation. But when I move the voice down into my body cavity, and I'm bringing it up with diaphragm breathing, it changes the whole quality. It makes it much rounder. So the breathing is something that, Again, it's a skill. You're going to have to work on it over the course of the semester. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we're in person. I want to give you a couple breathing exercises, but you can also look online. There's a million of them, but it is at the central core of all delivery. And if you focus on anything else, uh, this is, I mean, not anything else, but if you focus on your breathing over the course of the semester, it also calms you down. It helps manage that adrenaline. The breathing is something that you can work on your own over the course of the semester. We'll talk about it in class, but it will help with all aspects of delivery. Your nerves, your attitude, your pacing, your volume, your vocal quality, all of these things. So we're going to have to be working on our breathing over the course of the semester. It's not something that you can just change like this. It is something that you have to work on. It's a skill, it's a physical, it's a muscle memory. It's like building any other muscle, learning how to breathe properly. So, but again, this is something that you have control of. And all the physical aspects that I talked about, when if you try and come in with an empty stomach, that's just going to jangle your nerves even more. And just the converse, if you come in and you just ate a pizza by yourself, then all the blood is going to the stomach to digest, and you're not going to have any left for your brain, and then that gets a little, complicated too. So we have those things that we can work on to keep ourselves a little bit more focused. And I'm going to send you some handouts about how you can physically prepare and how you can mentally prepare, so that you can think about these things as we are preparing these speeches for next week. The other thing that I just want to have you keep in mind is that as you are preparing, I want you up on your feet. You cannot prepare a speech sitting at your desk. You cannot prepare a speech standing in the shower. You cannot prepare a speech thinking about it in your head. You have got to be up on your feet and saying those words out loud and feeling how they sound and hearing how your voice sounds, and do what I'm doing right now. Record it right in front of your laptop and then watch it back and say, oh, I've got to look at the audience more, or I've got to put my hands down. Do as I do, not as I say. No, do as I say, not as I do. But all of those things, you're going to have to get up on your feet. So you will have today your topics all chosen, your points made, and you're working on those now up on your feet as you're fine-tuning and figuring out how your speech is going to work. And think about your breathing, think about your pacing, listen to your voice, watch where you're standing, where you're looking. And when we're meeting next week, we'll have I'm going to ask for volunteers, and I'm going to do that on the email, but your speech, begins the minute you leave your seat. So, the way that you approach the lectern, how the words come out of your mouth, you're going to take a pause before you begin. Let your audience adjust, get ready to listen to you, not rush into the speech, because that's when that big adrenaline push is going to be happening. So taking a minute, not rushing, looking at your audience, making good eye contact at the whole room, not at just one point, but, at the whole room, taking your time. And then when you finish, give that one beat. Thank you. And then go sit down. So keep that all in mind as you're preparing, as you're rehearsing for next week. So that's the end of this part of the lecture. I am going to give one more lecture about critical listening in a separate video that will follow soon. Okay, bye.